What's up, guys? Zero Night Trucker here, back with another video. And today is a very good day because it's early, for one. It feels great outside, and we have an easy load of coils that we are securing today. And starting off this video, guys, I want to emphasize the importance of parking up. And if you don't know, if you're with TMC or probably a lot of other companies, parking up is just when you get to your consignee early. And for TMC specifically, it's when we get to the consignee on Sunday night before 9 p.m. And the reason for that is because you put yourself, for one, in position to have a full 10-hour clock early in the morning. Or I'm sorry, a full 14-hour clock. It's early, I didn't have coffee. But a full 14-hour clock early in the morning, 7 a.m. If you stopped by 9, and you put yourself in line for one, to get unloaded early in the morning, and then two, to have your pick of the litter for the new freight of the day when everything is getting dispatched. Now, the place that I delivered to was only 25 minutes away from the place where I currently am picking up this load. I got unloaded very early this morning, about 6:40 a.m. and I had to sit around and wait for just a little bit, but I got dispatched about 7:40 a.m. and I had a 25-minute drive over here to pick this stuff up. Now, it has a ripple effect parking up early. Since I parked up, I got unloaded early. I got dispatched on a load that was close to where I was. Now, that may not always happen, being as close as I was, but I got a load that's close to where I was delivering this morning. And on top of that, this load right here, this is a really good load because this is basically a 2-day drive load. But since I parked up and I have all of my hours basically on my clock, I'm gonna be able to next day this load. It's 13 hours away, the delivery location. And I have about 10 hours and some change, 10 and a half hours on my clock. So I'll be able to drive the majority of the miles for this route today and be able to knock this load off early tomorrow morning. Like I said, it's a 2-day drop load, so it pays pretty good for it being a next day delivery. Seriously, it's awesome. So keep that in mind. It pays off to park up as often as you can, because you may be in line to get a really good load for the amount of miles and the amount of time you have on your clock. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and get to securing this. I've had this stuff in the past. I've been to this place multiple times. So this is gonna be a walk in the park for me. But with this load, with this specific customer, we need to secure this stuff a very specific way, like up to the customer's specifications, which aren't really that much different than what I would normally do for this. It's just throwing a few extra straps here or there. But I'm gonna go show you guys what I'm going to do with it. It's gonna be some butterfly straps through it, some straps going over the top and through the middle, and it's gonna be a lot easier for me to show you this stuff versus me talking you through it. But without further ado, let's get this rolling. All right, now before I go ahead and start throwing the straps where they need to be on this load, I want to show you guys the setup that I needed to do for this, because you want to set up a load of coils, and really any other load that you have, especially something that's going to not take up the entire length of your trailer. You want to set it up a specific way so that the weight on your trailer will be evenly balanced and you won't be overweight on any of your axles, and specifically the drive axles up there. You don't want to be heavy up there because you need to have enough empty weight to be able to add fuel to your tractor. And also, you know, from what I've heard, DOT pays the most attention to those being overweight or not. You don't want to be overweight on any of your axles, but especially not right there. And you don't want to be over on your gross weight, but this load is definitely not going to be over gross. It's like 46,517, I think. So what I did to set my racks up, since I didn't need to take up the entire length of the trailer, you know, I started originally right here where the landing gear was. That's where I set up my original set of coil racks and dunnage. But I saw that I had so much extra space at the rear of the trailer, and I wanted to have the load balanced more so towards the middle with this, because this load, if you can see, all of the coils are touching. So the way they load this stuff, you can't have any space in between, because the coils are using each other as support. to not move forward or backward. Of course, you have your coil racks down here, but they're kind of keeping each other in line, and then your straps will help to hold them down in place. So I wanted to center this. Now on TMC's trailers, their Bensons and their Fontaines, there's a bit of a pro tip or a cheat code for knowing where the center of your trailer is. If you look here, there's a weld. It's just about above the turn signal light here on the passenger and driver side. It'll be a weld of steel or aluminum or whatever that's made out of, but it'll be right there, and that's the center, the midpoint of your trailer. So what I did, I tried to line it up a little bit from where I had this stuff in the front. The loader needed me to scoot it forward, but it's not going to make a difference for my overall weight distribution. I won't be overweight anywhere. So I took, since I have 4 sets of coil racks and dunnage, I tried to set it up so that I had the first 2 racks in front of that weld. See here and here, and I had the last 2 behind the weld, here and here. That way the weight should be evenly balanced across the trailer, as far as not having too much up on the drive axle end and not enough back here in the trailer axle end. The trailer axle can hold the most weight for sure, so if I was going to be uneven, I'd want to have it, you know, more back this way. But of course you don't want to have too much because you fishtail making your turns. But if I'm going to be, you know, a little off, I'd rather have the weight back here. This could be 40,000 pounds max on your axles. Your drive axles max is 34,000, and I want to say that the steering axle up there, the max is 13,500 or 13,200. I will check and give you the exact number on that, but it's somewhere in that range. That's the first thing. You always want to make sure that you are set up correctly, because if you have your weight off and you go ahead and throw all your securement, you know, it's going to be a whole mess. If you went to a DOT scale, they say you're overweight or something, or you go to a CAT scale, which is what you should do. Go to a CAT scale first if you're trying to determine your weight. Don't go and wait for the DOT to tell you that you are overweight, because you're going to pay a fine for that. So don't do that. Don't do that for sure. You want to find out on your own. That's part of being a responsible and professional truck driver. Go to a CAT scale, a truck stop that has one. Get your legal weight, and it'll tell you exactly how much weight is on each one of these axles. So don't cut corners, and don't take the lazy way out, because you will pay. You will pay if they catch you. And depending on how overweight you are on any of those axles, that will determine how high your fine is going to be. And we are in the business in trucking of making money, not losing it. So we want to keep all our money in our pockets and not give it to the DOT officers, the state that we got our overweight ticket in, guys. So save yourself a lot of time on the back end by spending a little bit more time on the front end, just crossing your T's, dotting your I's, doing this stuff here. Let's go ahead and start strapping this down. And one other thing, I keep thinking of little tidbits after I tell you guys that I'm going to start strapping this, but when you are laying out your coil racks, you want to make sure that you place your coil racks so that they are actually underneath the coil that you're picking up. Now, you can see that coil rack right there. It's actually very close to the center of that coil right there. And I did that for both coils. As you can see, it's 2 coils side by side. Now, each one of these racks has a double set of 2 coils. So 8 coils in total used underneath this. Even with this one here, this one is just a single coil in the middle by itself, but it's still got 2 coil racks under it, because I just like to be consistent like that. But other than that, each one of these coils has a coil rack directly under it. You don't want to do something where you got your coil rack like sitting off to the side and it's like barely underneath the coil, or something even worse, you have it sitting over here or anywhere else where it's not directly under the piece of freight that you're trying to secure. There's not going to be anything holding it in place. You know, it can easily topple over. You know, if the straps or chains or whatever you're using to secure this, this specific product, don't use chains, straps only. But if whatever securement you're using to hold it down gives way, you know, this is kind of like giving it bracing power. It's like the spine for it a bit. Just holding that coil rack in place, and the pressure of the freight on top of it leaning up against those coil racks and the dunnage, keeping it right where you want it. And like I said, do that for every single piece. If you can see those two coil racks there as well, both of them are directly underneath each coil that they are beneath, directly under it. Okay, so before I start throwing these straps, I'm going to show you guys a little bit of how they want this to go. It's pretty easy. Starting off, I'm going to throw the strap right over the top and just winch it right down. No problem. Nothing fancy. The next one is going to be a butterfly strap going through the center, over the top, back through the center again, winch it down. And the next one is going to be another butterfly strap. Pulling backwards, going through, around the other coil right next to it, going through this one again, winch it down. And very similar process going all the way down the length of the trailer with all of those. It'll be a belly strap, or I'm sorry, a butterfly strap to the first two. And the purpose of those butterfly straps over the top is to, for one, squeeze the two coils that are right next to each other, squeeze them together closer. And also, since it's above, it's pulling them down. So squeezing them together and pushing them down. And it'll make a lot more sense once I actually have the straps up there. So let's go ahead and get to it. All right, so like I said, the first one's going through in the very front, and that's just to pull it down kind of forward towards the tractor over there. And I like to try to minimize the quantity of times I walk around the trailer. So I try to set up my straps, just putting them off to the side where I know I'm going to be throwing them. As you can see, I got a few of them placed over there. Just try to save yourself some time and work efficiently. I know when you first start doing this, it might be a little bit confusing when you're first trying to figure out where you're supposed to place everything. But once you've done the same load enough times, it'll be a lot easier for you to deal with. And you'll start to develop that muscle memory of where everything needs to go. Now here with this first one, I'm walking around the trailer more than I usually would, so you guys can just see my process of what I would be doing at an enhanced speed. If I were just trying to work and not trying to show you guys how to properly do this. So you see I have the butterfly strap over the first one through the center, and that's going to be used to pull these coils down closer to the deck of the trailer, pin them down, and also squeeze them together at the top. And this is the butterfly strap right here that's going through the side. The first two coils in the fronts to pinch them together. And also when you're doing this, and I'll show you guys a close-up of this once I'm finished with everything, you want to make sure that you take the strap that you're wrapping to pinch the two coils closer together at the side, and you want to stick that one underneath itself when you're making the X through the center of the coil, not over the top. You always want to squeeze underneath. All right, that looks pretty good. Let me tighten this down a little bit and I'll give you guys a close-up. Okay guys, I went ahead and took the liberty of just throwing all the rest of the straps off camera. That way I could focus on explaining what's going on. It's pretty simple, but there's a few things that you want to pay attention to, especially if you are not familiar with hauling these coils, or if you've ever or never been to this specific customer. If you're a TMC driver, moving anywhere around Tennessee, you will eventually come here. But starting from the front, we had to throw 3 straps, and you guys saw me throwing these. This front one is just pulling the strap, or the coil down. Just pulling it down, that's all it's doing. Holding it down to the deck of the trailer. And when you're throwing these straps, you always want to make sure that you match the holes on the trailer, the pockets where you're throwing your straps. As you can see, the buckles right here. And if I were to draw a line straight across or follow this line right here, it would go directly across to that exact same hole on the passenger side of the trailer. That way your pull on your freight is even. You want to do that every time you're loading and securing anything. You want to match hole for hole if you can. So here, the butterfly strap that was going over the top, and that served a dual purpose. And I'm actually going to show you guys the reason why we have this butterfly strap over the top. As you can see, right there where the white plastic is, that's the gap between these two coils. Now, when I winch this butterfly strap here down, I'm going to set the camera up so that you guys can see that gap closing because of the strap pulling these two coils closer to each other. Once I get to the winching part, like I said, I'll show you guys, and it'll be really cool, and you'll see the reason why we do this. So the important thing, if you're watching my videos for information, trying to learn how to secure anything, I don't want you to just watch my videos and just do what I'm doing because you see it. You need to know what you're doing and why you're doing it, just in case you're securing a load that's similar to this, but not exactly the same. Because this setup may not work for the particular type of load you have. If you're just, doing monkey see, monkey do kind of stuff, just doing what I'm doing, and you don't know why. If you know why, you can secure anything because you know why you're doing it and why something needs to be where it is. It'll be in your best interest. It'll behoove you to know the ins and outs of securing things, not just following instructions. So the next one, hold on, let me get my hand right here. Okay. The next one is another butterfly strap here, and this one is to the side, and the purpose of that one is to squeeze this coil, or these two coils, closer to this coil right here. Now notice this coil does not have the butterfly strap through the center and over the top because it's only one coil by itself. There's nothing to squeeze it next to, so there's no reason to put a butterfly strap over the top. So we're just pinning this one up against this coil and back against this coil and down to the trailer deck. And then we're just following the same reasoning behind that first set of coils because this is a double set again. So butterfly strap, like I just showed you, pinning it to the one next to it, strap, pulling it straight down, just straight over the top, winch down to the trailer. That's all this one is, straight down, pulling the coils down to the deck. This is just the butterfly strap going over the top to the other side to pinch the two coils that are side by side closer to each other because you don't want any gaps. Because if you have gaps, your coils are possibly going to have the opportunity to fall to the side, and you don't want that. That'll be a very nasty load shift, especially if you're driving down the highway. Now, also notice that I used a 2-inch strap on this one, and I'll show you why once we get to the other side of the trailer. But I've checked with safety in the past when I've had to do something similar to this, and you can use a 2-inch strap to pinch these two together. A 4-inch strap is preferable, but for the specific reason that I had to do it, this works just fine. And it's the exact same thing on the last coil, but notice something else. You see how the strap that is pulling the two coils together, this one is pointing backwards away from the tractor. So is this one. Now, the last one where the coils are getting pinched together, this one is pulling towards the front of the tractor, where the other two were pointing away. Now this one, it's the same reasoning why we have the coils pinching together. We want everything close and tight, so we're pulling towards the tractor. Those are pulling away. Now normally when I have loads of coils like this, or on average, I'll have more than just 4 sets here. It'll usually be like 6, 7 or something like that. So what I normally would do would just go halfway through the trailer and have all of the straps that are pulling backwards one way, and then once I get to the halfway point, like say I have like 7 coils, so I'll get to like the 4th one or so, like the midpoint, and then I'll start making the straps pull the opposite way. So ultimately you want to have half and half pointing backwards, half pointing forwards, and that it gives you an even pull on your load, so your load doesn't shift one way or the other, and it's also, like I said, pinching it closer together, keeping it tight. So let me go to the side of the trailer here and show you the reason why I used the 2-inch strap instead of the 4-inch strap right there. Now, as you can see right here, the 2-inch strap is here because look at the state pocket that's there. I would not be able to fit a 4-inch buckle through this. It's one of these. You can't fit a 4-inch through there. I mean, you could maybe try to, well, no, you couldn't even do it at all. Well, there's no possible way you could fit a 4-inch buckle through here, and there wasn't one of these, it would be off center. So I need to have everything balanced. So I just use the 2-inch, that way I could fit a 2-inch buckle through there, no problem. And that's the reason for that one. Now the reasoning for the second one, I have a 4-inch buckle right here, or 4-inch hole for a buckle strap. But if you can look, you can see that this end of the trailer is kind of bent in. I don't know, somebody must have hit it at some point, or a forklift, or I don't know. But the reason why I didn't use this one, a 4-inch strap would have fit through here with the buckle, but I had heard from a DOT officer, now I don't know if this is state specific or not, but I had heard from a DOT officer, if you're using any of these holes for your straps for the buckles, if they're damaged in any kind of way, then they can write a violation and say that this is not suitable for you to use. So I just avoid it. I don't even use this one. I mean, it's a very small, what I would think is cosmetic damage, but when it comes to, you know, DOT violations and the CDL that I hold in my livelihood, I don't take chances, especially when they're easily avoidable and I have an alternative to do something else that is still legal. So I would advise you guys to do the same, because you may look at this and say, oh, what are the odds of a DOT officer inspecting you, finding that, and caring enough to write you a violation? You could have the strap covering this anyway, they wouldn't see it, but that may be true, but you know, what if it isn't? What if you get that one DOT officer that is a stickler and they are trying to go through everything you got with a fine-tooth comb, or they're having a bad day and they just want to find something to get you on and they're just looking at everything. You know, I don't leave anything up to chance. You know, anything that's within my control to adjust and put in my favor, I will do that, especially when it comes to, like I said, my CDL, my livelihood, and my professionalism, guys. I don't take chances out here. But we got all that set up just fine. So all we need to do now is just winch everything down, tighten it up, and of course, tarp this load and we can get out of here. But I have not forgotten, guys. I'm gonna set the camera up so you can see on these coils where they are belly strapped over the top, or I'm sorry, butterfly strapped over the top. I'll set the camera up so you guys can see the pinch points closing as I'm winching this down. It will even work when you are ratcheting down with this 2-inch ratchet. That's the whole point of being able to use this, because it'll still do the job that the 4-inch ratchet, 4-inch strap would be able to do for you. Let's go ahead and knock it out. All right, guys, I'm about to start winching down the very front coil here, and you can see the gap right there where the white paper is that I was telling you guys about earlier. I'm about to tighten down this butterfly strap here, and you can see, you'll be able to see the gap closing as I tighten the strap up. I think I can get one more in there. There we go. That's looking good. And this strap here is drum tight. And that's what you want. You don't want any gaps, any looseness, any space in between. Now let's go ahead and wrap the rest of these up. All right, guys, we're finished with the strapping parts. And something else that I forgot to tell you guys, I mentioned that you want to have your straps, your butterfly straps that are going through the coil. You want to have the X there, and you see how the side that gets winched, I made sure that that was underneath the first part of the strap that I threw through in the beginning. Always do it that way. And also something else, when you're throwing your butterfly strap through the top, you want to put a half twist in it, the same way that you would if you were hauling drywall or insulation or shingles, to eliminate the vibration. For one, I mean, this is going to be covered by a tarp, but I like to be consistent. I do my loads the same way, whether they're going to be tarped or not, as far as how I strap them down and secure them. Always the same, but you want to put a twist in it for all of your butterfly straps that are going through the top, not the ones that are going through the side. You want to have those be straight and flush. Make sure when you're strapping these down, you're checking the sides before you tighten them down. Make sure that this is not folded in on itself like that, or there's a half twist. You want it to be flush. Perfect, all the way through. The only thing that needs a twist, like I said, is the butterfly straps that are going over the top through the center. But we're looking good. It's looking very good. Okay, seeing the load from the top, you can see that there is no longer any gaps. And you guys saw me squeezing it together with the strap and the winch bar. That is drum tight. Everything is looking how it should. Now, the benefit to having just four coil rack setups with this here is I can just use a single tarp to cover this entire load. And I like that very much so. That'll be less work for me to do on the back end when we're getting unloaded. So let's go ahead and get to it. And of course, we're gonna use another piece of dunnage in the front and the back to seal this off and to make sure that there is no risk of any wind getting underneath it and blowing it up like a cape, or any moisture getting underneath and causing a load claim with rust. Now, since these coils here are covered with this plastic film or whatever this is made out of here, we do not need to put a padded tarp over top of this. We don't have to worry about our main tarp, our steel tarp here, getting cut by the wire mesh. So we'll be good to go. Less effort, once again, which I like. Let's go ahead and get to it. Make sure that you're watching your footing up here whenever you're climbing on top of your trailer, especially once you start unrolling your tarp, because you can't necessarily see where you're walking at that point. Let's see here, it's looking good, but everything that we're doing is done for a reason. We properly strap and secure because we don't want load shifts. We tarp because we don't want load claims. And we watch our footing when we're walking on top of the deck because we don't want to get injured. We don't want workers' comp claims either, but more so, we don't want to get injured. Money can be made elsewhere. Insurance can be paid. But if you hurt your body bad enough, you can't replace that. You can't replace your mobility. So always do what you need to do to make sure you're safe when you're moving around on these loads. Or when you're working at these job sites, picking up at shippers or delivering to your consignee. I don't think I'm gonna have enough tarp space to put a piece of dunnage on the very front. I don't think I am. Maybe, we'll see. Might be able to pull it forward a foot or two without compromising the rear here. If not, I have a workaround for that. Yeah, that looks good. I can work with that. And this is a good way to start your tarping here. Little pro tip: when you're rolling out your tarp, or when you're placing it on a load of coils, there's this streamline here, and I just follow that, and that's what I make my corner piece, and I put my straps through that on both sides, and that's how you get that nice, tight, taut look on your tarp. And I'll do the same thing in the back, and that'll keep everything nice and even as I start to bungee it down. Let's go ahead and finish it up. Okay, we're at the home stretch now. Last thing we gotta do is go ahead and throw a piece of dunnage over the top of this to seal it from the moisture. Strap it down and we're done. You wanna avoid just throwing a strap over top of this instead of using a piece of dunnage as well. It's more secure this way with a piece of dunnage on there, seals it from the wind. And it also prevents your tarp from blowing in the wind. Doing a whole bunch of that while you're driving down the highway. So we're sealing the fronts and the rear of the load here. But to be able to execute this kind of tactic, you need to make sure that you got enough dunnage on your truck to begin with. I carry 12 pieces of dunnage, and I'd suggest you carry at the minimum 10 pieces. That should be what TMC sends you out with when you get hired on. And depending on what trailer you're hauling with, a Benson or Fontaine, you'll have an easier or a harder time fitting that many pieces of dunnage on there. But I'm always able to fit 12. Whether I have a Benson or a Fontaine, it doesn't matter. Unless it's maybe like one of those really, really old Benson trailers. Those can be a little tricky. Looks like I miscalculated here. I ended up throwing my front strap over there, and I don't have an available strap over there. Or, I'm sorry, an available winch, so I'm gonna have to re-roll that up and just throw the strap over here. I've got enough winches on this side to do it. I can roll my straps up 4 seconds flat with my strap winder that I have here. I'll leave a link to the video where I do a review on it somewhere around here. All right, we are completely finished. Now look at that. It is a thing of beauty when it comes out right. We are strapped down, the load is secure, no moisture is gonna get underneath any of that. We are ready to roll. And it's been a great start to the day. I got unloaded early, like I told you guys. I got dispatched relatively quickly. It helped that I was in the Central Time Zone, because that's the same time zone that my fleet manager is in. Normally, I'm in the Eastern Standard Time Zone, that's where I live, so I usually have to wait for like an hour extra in the morning for my fleet manager to get in. But today, no. So we got dispatched at a good time, didn't have to waste any time on our clock. We got a load that pays really well that I'm gonna be able to next day deliver. That was originally supposed to be a 2-day move. So I'm gonna be up for the week because of that. Financially, which is always a good thing, never complain about that. And got an easy load to secure. So I haven't done the trip planning to see exactly how far I'm gonna go. I've been at this this shipper long enough that my clock is frozen now. I've been sitting here for longer than 2 hours just because I slowed myself down a little bit so I can make this video for you guys. But that makes no difference. It's about 11:45, close to noon. So I'll see how far I'm gonna drive, and then I'll just finish the rest of it off in the morning. And we will be up ahead. But that just goes to show, guys, the benefits of parking up. Today's a Monday morning, and I parked up last night, and look at how well it paid off for me. The load pays a nice amount, very, very nice, especially, like I said, for a next day drop. It's very, very good. But let's go. I'll give you guys one final sweep look of the completed securement, and we are getting ourselves out of here. Before I head on out of here, guys, there was a couple other things that I wanted to mention before we get on the road, because we have a long drive going up to New Jersey, 13 hours away. But if you, at any point in time, are low on securements, you know, you lost a piece or it got damaged and you need it replaced, you need to get to a terminal, make sure you let your fleet manager know as soon as you are aware that you are down on something. Because there was another TMC driver that was pulling through here after I did, and he was short on dunnage. You know, he needed a minimum of 8 pieces, and I want to say that he had 6 for whatever reason. He was almost not able to pick up his load. Fortunately, this shipper here, they have spare dunnage that he was able to use. Otherwise, he would have been out of that money for this load, and his fleet manager most likely would have had to find another load for him to go pick up somewhere else that would that he would be able to accommodate with the amount of securement he has. So definitely do not be out here for any long length of time without letting your fleet manager know if you need some other some other securement on your truck. It could cost you some money later on. Well, also mentioning TMC, and man, I'm sweating. It's getting hot out here. I need to turn on the AC. But you guys know, like I said, I got here really early. I was the first TMC guy to get here. There were a couple other guys from another trucking company, but I was the first TMC guy here. And that is in part because I parked up last night, got unloaded early this morning, and got here quickly. Of course, part of it is that I was like 30 minutes away from this place. That was convenience. You know, you may not always have something like that. But, you know, always give yourself as much of an advantage as you can. Man, I am dripping. But give yourself as much of an advantage, as much of a head start as you can. You know, park up if you can. And I know there are different reasons. You got your family at home. You may not feel like leaving. You know, you got other things to do. I understand. I'm not saying throw all that other stuff to the wayside. But, you know, when you have the opportunity to park up and you don't have anything else major planned to do, put yourself in the best position so you can be in a better chance or a better possibility of making the most money while you are spending your time away from home on this road. Okay. That's what I try to do. If I'm going to be out on the road away from my family, I want to maximize my time and my money while I'm out here. So let's go ahead and get out of here. Let's hit up New Jersey. And also, one more thing. I have to use the New Jersey Turnpike, or I am available to use it. I'm screwing up today, but the New Jersey Turnpike is available for me to use. Now, the New Jersey Turnpike exits 1 through 6, the Ohio Turnpike and Indiana Turnpike, I-80, I-90. You have to get authorization from your fleet manager to use those turnpikes, those 3, Ohio, Indiana, and New Jersey, before you get on them, okay? And all you have to do, at least at the point in time with me recording this video right now, is you just need to send your fleet manager a message, ask them if you can use those specific turnpikes for the route that you have, and they should say yes, assuming that, you know, the route makes sense and it's the right mileage that they can authorize it for, or, you know, there's other special circumstances that they'll say yes for, but you need to ask. Just make sure you ask. And once they give you the go ahead, they'll send you, you know, a message on your Trimble or through the TMC app that says you have toll, what is the word? I'm screwing up. I'm mixing toll road with turnpike, but I meant to say they'll give you the turnpike authorization notice and you'll have that message. I suggest you take a screenshot of it because it has an authorization number on it too. And I'm always, you know, about keeping documentation. I keep emails, letters, messages. If it's important, I keep it. I don't delete that stuff because you may need to bring it up later on if you get charged for something unjustly. You get that turnpike authorization from them and you should be good to run on the toll pike. I keep saying it, turnpike, for as long as you need to. And if you do not, and you run that turnpike without getting authorization from your fleet manager ahead of time, they will most likely charge that money that you racked up from running on those toll roads to your next check. And you'll see that money subtracted from your check in the itemized list. And you don't want that, especially when it's so easy and all you got to do is just ask them if you can go on the toll road. And like I said, most of the time they'll say yes if it meets the requirements. So just make sure you're doing that, cover yourself, and keep all of your money in your pocket where it belongs. You're out here working hard. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. I think I'm going to keep this video going, actually. We'll see how the road to New Jersey treats us. And I need to go ahead and trip plan, see where I'm going to stop for the night. Let's get this done. Okay. It's about 10 or so hours later, and I'm parked for the night. Well, I stopped my clock at 12, right around midnight. So my 10-hour break is going to be done at 10 a.m. But the place that I'm delivering to, I believe I need to be there no later than 2:30 p.m. I have 4.5 hours left to go, so that would actually put me there right around that time. I'm not comfortable with that because, I'm gonna have to do one load check on the way. I got fuel on the way to where I currently am, so I'm not gonna need to stop for that, but I could get slowed down by traffic or, whatever else. So in order for me to make this delivery next day like I was planning, I'm gonna have to run the split and only take an 8-hour break. But the thing is, I don't know for sure how much time I'm gonna have on my clock if I only run an 8-hour break. I have an alarm set on my phone to wake me up when my 8-hour break has elapsed, and I am going to see how much time I have on the clock. If I have 6 or 7 hours, I'd like to have 7 or 8 if I could. But if I have enough time, I'm gonna go ahead and just start my clock early after my 8-hour break, get this load delivered, and then take a 2-hour break later on in the day to get the remainder of my 14-hour clock back for tomorrow. We made it here. It was close. As you can see, 32 minutes left on my clock for this evening. But in order to make the delivery for tomorrow a possibility, I needed to drive the clock out. So with me planning on taking a shorter break tonight, I need to go ahead and go to bed. No time to lollygag around. I'll see you guys in the morning. We'll see how much time we have after these 8 hours. All right, guys, good morning. It is slightly after 8 a.m. and I have my 8-hour break in, but unfortunately I only got an hour and 2 minutes back. That can't be helped. I have 4.5 hours to drive to get to where I need to be to deliver in New Jersey. It's not really a problem though, because like I told you guys yesterday, this load isn't due to deliver until tomorrow, so I'm not losing out on anything. I just most likely I'm not going to be able to get the early jump that I would want to get, but it's all going to work out for the best, because my clock is going to refresh at 10 a.m. and I'm still going to leave at 10 a.m. Just to get my workday over with, because I can use the spare time. Since it's still pretty early in the day, it'll be right around 2:30 or 3, maybe 3:30 by the time I get there. That's a whole lot of time for me to go do other things. I do things outside of trucking, so I can work on a lot of other things. That's a lot of spare time, and time is a premium, as you know, when you're a trucker and you're spending your time over the road. You don't have very much time on the weekends during your 34-hour reset, or if you get a few more hours than that, you don't have a whole lot of time to do things at home. Whether it's work on the side or spending time with family or running errands, your time gets used up very quickly. So I will definitely utilize the spare time that I probably am going to have today to the best of my abilities. Absolutely. But by the time I get there, I'm still going to try and see if they'll receive the load. If not, I'll just park there overnight and get unloaded first thing in the morning. Now, the other end of it, if I do get unloaded today, the negative part of it could be if it's like 3 p.m., all that's going to be left over on the load board is just leftover scraps that haven't been picked up, and I would most likely have to drive like 2 or 3 hours for a bounce to go pick something else up, and it could set my clock off incorrectly for tomorrow. I may be driving tomorrow morning to finish off the load that I possibly would be picking up today, versus starting tomorrow with a full, fresh 14-hour clock and getting the pick of the litter first loads on the load board. So, like I said, it might work out better to just not even be able to deliver this today anyway. I already let my fleet manager know that I might not make it. And like I said, since this load's not due today, it's not a big deal. He said, it's fine. Just trying to get ahead when you can. But sometimes it doesn't work out. I did everything I could in my powers to be able to get there earlier. But I just didn't get enough time back on my 8-hour break, and I would have to explain hours of service and your 70-hour duty clock to explain to you guys why I didn't get back enough time. Because, you know, if you're running like a 7-day work week with your trucking company, you know, it's like your 7th or 8th day falls off each time a new day comes up, and it will be really complex and probably confuse you guys without me really taking my time and being meticulous to explain to you guys how that works and how you get time back after you take just an 8-hour break. You know, you get time back from last week, and it's a whole lot. I'm sure I may have confused some of you guys just talking about that little bit of it, but didn't work out for me on this one. And we will leave in a couple of hours. I think since I'm just sitting here, I'll go try to get in a workout, maybe even take a little nap, because I have zero pressure for the rest of the day. I can leave whenever I feel like it after these next 2 hours, and have the rest of the day to hang out and do whatever I need to do until tomorrow morning. So I'll check in with you guys later. All right, we're here. I got here about 4:15, and they're not receiving. I just went in there just to check and see what I needed to do for the morning and see what time they started receiving. The time that is on my load notes says that they start receiving at 7 a.m. if I'm not mistaken there. But the guy that I was talking to up in that trailer right there said that sometimes they'll start at 5 a.m. which I'd be okay with that. I mean, I just would drive around, get unloaded, and then come back up here and just sit and wait for my next dispatch. So I don't have a problem with that. Either way, I mean, actually I would prefer to get unloaded really early. Like if they do unload at 5 a.m, I'd rather just go do that, untarp, unstrap, get unloaded, then crawl the truck back up here and wait to get dispatched. That way I can just go back to sleep. I just go back to sleep for at least you know, a few hours if it's that early when they do it. And there's actually a truck stop that's across the street from here. You might not really be able to see it in the mirror, but it's like right across this road here and off a bit. The place where I'm at is not one of those big chain truck stops like Pilot, Petro, TA, Loves, or anything like that. It's like a, you know, a small mom and pop truck stop just around the way. So those can be hidden gems, you know. If you find them, usually they're not filled up. You know, usually you'll be able to have a space to find, unless it's the place where all the locals park. And it is still really early, so I don't know how filled up that place would be like in the late evening when most drivers are trying to park for the night. But I'll be able to go over there if I need to use the restroom before the morning, because there are no portalets here. I mean, the guy told me that there's like some restrooms like way farther up there. I mean, that's over 100 yards that I would have to walk to get up into the warehouse where I would basically be delivering. You know, he said there's like a bathroom in there and all that, but I'd rather take that short walk across the road to that truck stop versus, you know, walking more than a football field and then having to walk that same distance to come back to the truck. But that's neither here nor there. This place, I don't know if they closed this gate. You can see there's a gate right here. My information on my Trimble said to park in front of the gate when I read there's on-site parking, so I don't know if they closed that gate once it gets to a certain hour. So I'm just gonna hang out here and I'm gonna wait. I'll wake up really early in the morning, like around 5, and I'll see where things are. The building that I'm supposed to be loading or unloading to is like directly in front of me, just driving straight down this road. So I'll probably crawl up there and get right next to that building and look around for anybody that's moving around on a forklift and get myself unloaded first thing. And like I said, just crawl right back up here and hang out until I get something. Now, there's a couple places close to here. There's a CMC Steel where they put out you know, rebar and different metal stacks, things like that. Also, what is that place? I go there all the time. GAF. but I don't really want to go there. Not so much. Recently, you know, the loads coming out of Gaff have not been paying well. I mean, I'm talking about like really, really cheap. And, you know, usually when I get something coming out of there, it's like I have to drive like 8 hours and, you know, taking me back down towards North Carolina. I don't want to do that for cheap freight. Definitely don't. But we'll see. But the other part of that is like both of those places that I was talking about, they're not in the same direction necessarily, but they're both 2 hours away. Those are just the truck stops that or not the truck stops, but the shippers that I know about in this general vicinity. I don't know what else might be around here. Those are just the places that I go to frequently when I'm up in this northeast area, close to Maryland, between Maryland and New Jersey, New York area. And like I said, with it being Wednesday, I don't really see them sending me up further north. You know, they're going to want to start getting me back around my region so I can go home. But I have a lot of time right now to do other things. Actually, let me see what time is it now. It's only 5 o'clock, so still got a whole lot of daylight left, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and get some things done, and I will check in with you guys in the morning when we get this unloaded. Guys, we are finished. As you saw, we got unloaded, and it was pretty accurate to what the guy that I checked in with yesterday said. He said they started unloading around 5 a.m. here, and it was about 5:30, 5:45 when the forklift operator came around honking his horn really loud. And that's something you got to be ready for. If you are parked up at a consignee, like if you're gonna be like first in line like I was, like you got to be ready, you know, to get up and just get into action like real quick. If somebody comes knocking on your door or honking your horn like that. I mean, I was anticipating that, but I was still asleep. I was knocked out when he came, but that woke me up pretty easily. Him honking his horn, and did not take very long to get unloaded. That was pretty much the very first thing that he did as soon as he got in here and started working, I'm assuming. And it's like 7 o'clock right now, 7 a.m. So I have some time to sit around and wait because my fleet manager is on Central Standard Time. So I would venture to say it's probably going to be another hour and a half, maybe 2 hours before I hear anything from him as far as the dispatch goes. And I'm not sure where they're going to send me. Like I was hypothesizing yesterday, maybe they'll send me to CMC Steel. Maybe they'll send me to Baltimore to go pick up some shingles, or, you know, something around that area. Those would be my two first guesses, because I've been to both of those places more than once when I've been out here. I would think that they're probably going to send me somewhere that's going to aim me back down south, because it's a Wednesday right now, and at this point in time, I'm like 10 hours away from home. So I don't think they're going to send me too far away or too far north from where I currently am. I think I need to go ahead and get myself set. I'm gonna either take another nap, which I don't feel tired right now, but I'll probably exercise, make myself something to eat, and then just hang out a little bit until I get another dispatch. But always keep that in mind, guys. When you are able to get ahead of your clock, like I tried to on Monday by trying to deliver yesterday, or by getting to your consignee, you know, as soon as you can, if you have the spare time like I did, just get here. And I had extra time at the end of my drive yesterday. I got here around like 4 something, and I have extra time this morning because I got unloaded so early. So I've given myself the benefit of having the extra resource of time. That's the one resource that we cannot give ourselves more of. So I can go do whatever I want to do now until I get dispatched. So I will see you guys in the next video. I appreciate all of you guys watching, as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing to the videos. And make sure that you are hitting that like button to spread these videos in YouTube's algorithm so that we can get more people watching the videos and learning, you know, some perks and how to make their jobs easier as truck drivers out here, guys, because you know, the stuff is hard enough, and I'm sure all of us would like to have as many benefits and tips as we can get to make this job easier, more lucrative, and safer, you know, for ourselves and everybody that's driving around us. So until the next time, guys, I'll see you further down the road. Your Night Trucker out.